Hey everybody, GT Cam here once again. So somebody had a great question for me and I can give my 2 cents on it. It's gonna be maybe not the same as everybody else's. I'm a bit of a toolbox snob, not in the brand sense, but in the standards I have for them sense. So anyway, here we go. If you want to continue to see me in your feed, like and subscribe would be great. So a little bit about my background. Early on, I worked in a sheet metal fabrication shop. I fabricated HVAC fittings, okay? That meant a lot of zinc coated material. Later on into my early 20s, I ran a sheet metal CNC leaf brake we used for forming CNC wall panels for bakery equipment. And I've been involved in fabrication on some level for at least a third of my adult life. And so with that in mind, I have a fairly good sense on sheet metal and thicknesses and stuff like that. So when I go look at some of the toolboxes out there, some of them are, well, lacking. Now also, now that having the exposure to aerospace, our regular cabinets a lot of the time are either Stanley Vidmar, also, which is basically a Stanley Black & Decker property, which is probably a given, or a Lista, okay? Lista is also now owned by Stanley Black & Decker. These are fairly pricey, although not by Snap-on standards, pricey cabinets. Some of them are, 4 feet wide, drawers that full width. Some of them are only like 25 inches wide and 25 inches deep. But where I work, we have them all over the place. Some of the time, those make it to auction via Bidadoo and eBay. You're looking at, you might see them out of Victorville, California. You might see them out of the greater Seattle area. Trying to think of where else. You might see some over around Helena. You might see some out of South Carolina. But for the most part, this is something that you see in some shops. And what those two setups have going for them, and admittedly, some of them can be on rollers. I will put that out there. But the drawer slides in them are substantial. And so, as I recall, we can put about 500 pounds in one of those drawers, and those drawers will still roll in and out, provided somebody lubricates them semi-regularly. Somebody's got to do that, so yeah, I'll just let you do with that little tidbit of information what you will. Guess what doesn't get done a lot? Anyway, so I see those a lot, and with a sheet metal background, I have developed some opinions. So we do have some other stuff at work. In one of those cabinets we have at work, we started to see some US General just roll carts just for some of the mechanics. But one of the things we have in one area is an old Snap-on. Basically, it's what you would have called an old rollaway. It's just a short one, but it's basically an old rollaway that somebody took the rollers off of, or the wheels off of, casters, whatever you want to call them. And I looked at that a while back, and I was not particularly impressed with that particular cabinet. It was very reminiscent of some of the modern, really cheap stuff, but I'm sure that back then, it was probably a more substantial unit. So, what I'm getting at is somebody had asked about the what I thought of the Icon toolboxes, the US General boxes, and the possibility of buying some of the used boxes. And I don't have anything against, if you can find a deal on some of the used Snap-on boxes, to me, that's cool. If you're the enterprising sort and want to go in and clean one up, put new drawer slides in them, stuff like that, some of that stuff is really neat, okay? if you got to put a bunch of stuff in it, it might be a little more limited. As I look at, say, the US General, and what's the other line that they've got at Harbor Freight, the lower one? I can't remember the name. I never look at them. Anyway, I've looked at the US General quite in depth. I've got measurements in my phone somewhere because I was actually comparing a lot of this stuff. And my feeling, when you start looking at some of it, I do think the used Snap-on boxes are worth it. But if you can't find one of those, my view is that the US General boxes are good. And as strange as this sounds, I think they're better the shorter they get. And the reason for that being that my sense is that the 42-inch box with the two long drawers, that's really about as long as I want those drawers to be in that platform. Because there is a lot more flex and stuff as you get into the longer drawers on the 56 and the 72. If I'm going over about a 42 or whatever that size box is, I'm going to probably go over to the Icon, because there is a significant difference, if you know what you're looking at, between the drawer slides and the gauge of the material used to make the drawers. I don't remember what I measured it out at. I had it figured out at one point, but the drawers in the Icon are more rigid in those bigger sizes. That comes with the added con, of course, of price. You're going to have to pay more. You're going to have to do it with a coupon, and it's going to get more pricey. Unless you're really hooked on the power drawer in the US General, I really think the 42 and the 27 are pretty solid options. I think they should make a 36 in both, but that's just me. I hear they didn't sell that well, but I would love to have had a couple of Icons in 36 wide that were like white or something, a color they don't offer in Icon. But anyway, all that to say that overall, the US General I do see as a good option. I think the used Snap-on boxes, I've seen some amazing deals floating around out there. It probably isn't going to be an Epic, although I do know of some guys that have gotten some smoking deals on Epics. It takes being in the right place at the right time and maybe not being picky about the color you're wanting. And some colors are going to be harder to get than others, and that's the case with a lot of the used stuff. So if you got your mindset on what I like to refer to as Kawasaki green, well, you're probably looking at something fairly specific then, and probably new. And I'm not ignoring Matco boxes or Cornwell or Mac. I just don't see those as often, and I haven't really gotten a chance to really go through those. If your budget says US General, by all means. If somebody happens to offer you something that's in good condition and not the piece of crap that I see on my local Facebook marketplace where they say it's in good condition and I can see a rust blister this big around, yeah. So the guy's got it stored outside under an awning or something and great condition. The paint's blistered. No, it's not. This poor old Snap-on box. It just kind of makes me almost cry for it. So yeah, feel free to, I don't see a problem with the US General. There's, some of the Husky stuff. If it's me, I want something where I have a degree of modularity of being able to add on to it, so you have room to grow. If that's not a concern to you, find out whatever smoking deal you're comfortable with. You may not be as nitpicky as I am about material gauge and drawer slides and all that. By all means, you guys can go through my videos, and I've got, my old Craftsman that I got to replace. As part of what I'm working on here, there is going to be a toolbox upgrade. As much as I would like a particular Epic, it's probably going to be an Icon for at least a while. There's a lot of growth and flux going on over the next couple of years for me. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. Somebody had asked in my comments on one of my recent videos, And so I decided to make a video. Don't be like some other jerk that commented, oh, you could do this, you could do that. Yeah, well, you're making 0 videos, so whatever, dude. So on that note, you all have a good night. GT Cam out. Motherfucker.